Boys, welcome back. Got another deck profile for you. I brought Iyslander to ProQuest this weekend and got top 8 at both of them. So figured I'd show you guys what the deck looked like. I wanted to play something different because, well, first of all, everyone was gone for the Battle Hardened, so I was like, oh, this seems like a good opportunity to try something different and try something fun, maybe. And my thinking was also that either Prism is good this season and she Living Legends herself, or she's bad this season and I just shouldn't be playing Prism. Either way, I should probably learn another deck for the Pro Tour. So, figured why not try out the other instant speed deck in the game. That's a kind of a control style deck. Combines all the things that I love in this game. I want to play a deck that plays on our turn. I want to play a deck that says, give me a card. And I want to play a deck that's going to win the game at one life. These are all the things that I love to do, and I have fun with the game when I'm doing these things. She does all these things. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, Iyslander, obviously, and Waning Moon. We are not playing Kraken's Aether Vein, even though I really like that card. I just don't think that this is the meta for it, and I think that you're just trying... You're going for a different style of game with that staff, and this isn't that style of deck. My win condition is by chipping them away and having a big finish at the end, and that doesn't chip them away enough. So I need a different, a more damaging staff. Maybe if I'm like playing more zero cost stuff or trying to play more on my turn, it's good. But I don't know. I don't think it really fits what I'm trying to do right now. Obviously, Tunic, staple. I don't actually utilize the Tunic as well in this deck as a lot of other decks that I play Tunic in. I find myself only using it like maybe 2 times a game until the very end of the game, where I use it for my last turn. I end up sitting on the Tunic counter a lot because I'm really trying to save it for specific turns instead of just using it on cooldown like I tend to do in other decks. But it's still the best chest option that you have, so there's no real decision making there. Ironhide Gauntlet. This is the only gauntlet that we are playing. I originally had Metacarpus nodes and the new ice gauntlets. I think I have them right here. Conduit of Frostburn. I originally had these in the list, but the more I went through and like looked at the play patterns of the deck, I never was looking to play either of the others. Pretty much the only time I would rather this is if I'm trying to quell multiple times a turn, because I'm not utilizing the other effect on this very often. So it really only has quell 1 and no other text. Where just 1 more defense oftentimes ends up mattering more. Man, my camera needs to stop moving. If you guys know how to make it so it doesn't do that, let me know, and I'll adjust that setting. I don't know how to do these things. I might end up putting this back in if I add more cards that freeze the arsenal, so this actually has text, but as of right now, I don't really utilize this very well. And the same with the nodes. The nodes are nice for like some specific kill turns where you end up generating extra frostbites, which generate extra damage. But the matchups that I want to do that specifically, I would rather the Ironhide Gauntlets for safety, so I don't just die earlier in the game. Like, the matchups that I was like, oh, I kind of want that instead, would be like a Guardian or something. But I don't want to get smorked randomly by a Guardian attack, like an Oaken or a Crippling Crush. So I felt like I needed the safety to not die. Pretty much I felt like if I'm not dying, I'm probably winning this game through the War of Attrition. So, MVP of the deck. I don't think the deck works without this card. This card is actually insane. Basically, what ends up happening is if the opponent doesn't make you block out with most of your hand, or maybe you have a card that doesn't block well and it's more efficient to just not block with it and save it, You then say, give me a card, and put your opponent down to a 3-card hand. Then your opponent doesn't punch you back with a full hand, meaning you didn't have to block with every card in your hand again. So you say, give me a card again. And you get into this loop of, I'm just going to keep saying, give me a card every turn until your opponent doesn't make you block with another card because they have an off round or something, or the frostbites fuck them up. So you get to keep an additional card. And then you start getting ahead, and you kind of start slowly creeping ahead 1 card every turn cycle after a certain point. And it gives you chances to get on board with your permanents. It lets you keep a bigger hand so that way you can have a main phase fuse where you say play like a Ice Vein or something on your turn because they didn't make you block with most of your hand. They had a mid-turn. This card is just bonkers. I thought this card was good when I first saw it, and it has only gone up in value as I've played it. This best card. It feels like Crown of Seeds good almost when it's doing its thing. Stormstriders, obviously. I guess not obviously. I wasn't playing it for a hot second because I wasn't sure if that was something I was looking to do when I was first theory crafting the deck. But you really need it to have a kill sometimes with Freezing Point or Chilling Ice Vein, where you strip your opponent's hand and then they can't do the thing. It basically gives you more ways to kill your opponent, and it negates the fact that you're starting the game at 36 because you're going to have a turn at the end of the game where you didn't care what your opponent did, they just died. So they don't get that last turn of the game. You end up basically what I end up doing a lot with this deck is I try to go down on life totals with my opponent so we're kind of even all game. And then there's this turn at the end of the game where we're even, but I'm killing you on your turn and you can't do anything about it. And this helps enable that. Basically, when you don't have the X spell, it lets you do that with another burn spell in your hand. And then the only sideboard equipment, the new Wizard Chest piece. Good against Runeblade, good in the mirror. I figured there's going to be a lot of Briars floating around in the format, so this would be a good card to have in the deck. So far, I've only gotten a chance to use this once, and it was against Briar. And it was fairly mid in that particular scenario, but I think it was just his hands were lining up in such a way that I just wasn't getting a chance to get value off of this. But it might have been that he was playing his hands in such a way that I couldn't get value off of this because he knew I had this on the board. Either way, either his hands didn't work, or he was choosing not to swing with Rosetta. Either way, I'm happy about that. And that's it for the equipment. Now on to the deck. So for the main board, we've got a couple red attacks, Freezing Point, an Aether, Ice Vein, and that's it for red attacks. Or I say attack, you know what I mean. Cards that do damage. We've got some more reds in our sideboard, but we'll jump to that later. Now I think I might be increasing this count by another play set, maybe a set of Encases or Ice Binds. Not really sure yet. I had a number of instances this weekend where I was looking for the kill hand, and I just couldn't find it. I didn't have enough targets, because basically my cards that I need to use to kill my opponent are these. I have a couple other cards in the deck that do Arcane, but really, when I'm looking for the kill hand, I'm looking for one of these. And I just couldn't find them, so I think I need one more set just to consistently find it. I lost a top 8 game to Lexi because of that, where I was looking for the card to kill him for 6 rounds, and I couldn't find it, and then finally lost. But, yeah, they're good. Freezing Point and Ice Eternal. Big dumb damage spells. They smork. This, I think, is one of the best cards in the deck. I'm even considering playing the yellow of this. It's so good. It deals damage, and then no matter what says, give me a card. And then it triggers all your other things that say, if you fuse, give me a card. So the tempo this card steals is insane. You flip the game on its head a lot of the times when you cast this card. Basically, if I get to keep 3 cards and I play this and I have some amulets and chills, whatever the fuck that card is called, you end up stripping their whole hand and time walking them. It's so good. Other MVP of the deck. And this one it's just good. It's just damage. It lets you trigger all your things to strip their hand. Sometimes it does extra damage. I did have one line that was really cool with it. I hit with a Nourishing Emptiness. So, spoiler alert, there's a Nourishing in the deck. So I went to a 5-card hand. I had an Ice Eternal and Arsenal. Drew into 4 blues and a Freezing Point. I Ice Eternaled. I Storm Stridered the Freezing Point. And I think they had a Hex in play or something. I don't quite remember anymore. But the Freezing Point saw the Frostbites that the Ice Eternal made and dealt extra damage from that. And I ended up doing, like, I think 15 damage in response to him floating a resource for Tunic. It was kind of silly. So this is what we used to kill people. Now for our other fuse cards, Blue Aether Isovein and Blue Icebind, I might be increasing this to a 3 of. I just needed some more cards that cost 0, I think, and fuse to help create pivot turns where I strip my opponent's hand. Basically letting me keep a 2-card hand where I keep a 0 cost and an ice card, so I can go play the 0 cost, fuse it, reveal the ice card that I want to arsenal, trigger my stuff, rip your hand apart, so that way they don't punch me back for very much, so I am able to keep a 4-card hand on the next cycle. And then for our other arcane damage cards, we have all of the Ice Wizard cards. And then, of course, Frost Hex. Now, the way that I play the deck, I did not really focus on the Frost Hex very much. It, in a lot of matchups, was just a blue block 3. Pretty much, it was there as a sideboard option for an opponent that doesn't want to play the game, where they just sit behind AB3 or 4 and just push their weapon all game. So kind of like how Viserai has the fallback plan of the Rune Chant OTK with Sonata Scalata back before that got suspended. Same idea, where like I have this if I need it, but if you're going to play the game, I'm also just going to play the game. I'm not going to go for some crazy setup with Hex. If it gives me value, I'll play it. If you didn't strip my hand and I have this, I guess I'll play it. But I'm not, like, going out of my way to play these, and I'm not going to, like, look to take damage to play these a lot of the time, because against the aggro decks, this isn't that important. Getting tempo is far more important, and this is a negative tempo card. All the Ice Wizard cards are great, though. They're blue block 3, so, like, the floor on them is insanely high. But, like I said, I think I need some more cards that do damage in the deck. I felt like a little light on just raw damage. And then we have all of our ice cards. Cold Snap, card's insane. It lets you draw a card. Even if... half the time I played this when they didn't even have an arsenal. I don't care. Draw a card, give you a Frostbite. You play that all day. Like, I considered even playing... was it Polar Cap or whatever? The one that gives Dominate, just because it's the same thing. Give you a Frostbite, draw a card. That's great. Arctic Incarceration, another great card. Give them 2 Frostbites on their turn. Blizzard really underperformed for me this weekend, but I did not face that many aggro decks. I faced a lot of like mid-rangey style decks, so this was just a blue 0 block, not even a non-attack. It was not very good for me this weekend, but I know this card is good against the matchups that I'm looking to face. Same with Hypothermia. And then we got Channel Lake Frigid. Really important to your strategy a lot of the time. It's what like lets you get tempo, because you're kind of like behind a lot of the time from the start of the game, because your opponent doesn't really care about you shooting them for 3, and they'll play through 1 Frostbite. But once you get down to Channel Lake, that usually sticks around for 2 to 3 turns and gets you a ton of tempo. Usually if you get it to stick for 2 turns, you are now even on tempo. And then if it sticks around for the 3rd turn, then you start getting ahead of them. And this is what lets you start doing that thing that I was describing, where like I'm gonna cornet you, so now you're playing a 3-card hand, but then you didn't punch me back enough to make me even block with 2 cards, so now I keep a 3-card hand, and then I play a card that fuses, like a Ice Vein or something, and that lets the channel like stick around another turn, and then you get to the point where you start time walking them. Now you've flipped the turn order, where now you're ahead of them by a turn cycle. Very powerful. And then we've got Amulet of Ice, Ice, and I don't know how to, what is it? Insidious Chill. Insidious Chill. I don't know the names of my cards. Really crucial to your strategy. The way I was playing it, anyways, I really focused on getting these down more than the Hex, and then I would look for a pivot turn where we're near 20, and then I'd trigger all of these, strip their hand, time walk them, punch them in the face again because they didn't make me block, Arsenal Pass, kill them on their turn, where I basically have like 3 turns in a row of just shooting them. And then, because I'm stripping their hand, I don't care if they have AB, because they can't pay for it. I took everything from them. So I would look to get like 3 of these down before like 20 life, and then I would look for a hand that I could go, okay, no block, strip your hand, go to my turn, strip your hand, and just, they don't get to play the game. The game just ended in that like turn cycle. And then last ice card, Winter's Bite, kind of underperformed for me a lot of the times. I mean, I guess it was because I was playing against a lot of mid-range. It underperformed kind of for the same reason that Blizzard underperformed. But a lot of the decks I was playing against, they were not caring about that. They were like, I'm already paying for this round, so what's one more? I was already accounting for a Frostbite, so now it's just one more. It was alright. I'm considering shaving like an ice card from the deck just because I wanted to increase the average block value by a little bit by adding like another set of 3 blocks. But other than that, pretty much everything else was fantastic. Now, these are the cards that are not in the main board. So we've got our defensive package, Fate, Sync, Oasis. This is primarily what the Tunic is for. You'll see that I'm not playing any Sigils. I do not really like that card very much the way that I'm playing the deck. Again, I'm not focusing on Hex, so I don't get as much value out of it as other Iyslander decks or styles of play would. And it is actually counterproductive to my strategy where I'm trying to use these chills to get tempo. When I... So, like, let's go through an example play. I block with the Sigil. I fuse the Sigil. I pitch. I play a non-attack from Arsenal and push Staff. Something like that. I'm going to be giving them a Frostbite because I played something from Arsenal. So it's 1 Frostbite. And then I'm going to shoot them with my Staff, giving them another 3 Frostbites. So I gave them 4 Frostbites. Most decks, that's it. They're done. They can't play through 4 Frostbites. Then I trigger Chill, making them pay 2 or discard. They already weren't getting around. So the pay 2 or discard didn't actually really do anything. Like, I don't need to tax them even more. And in fact, now I don't have this for my pivot turn later. And this isn't giving me a pivot turn because I already spent most of my hand to do this. So we're just in the same board state where I'm going to Arsenal Pass. I got a little bit of damage in and Arsenal passed. It's not what I'm trying to do with the deck, so I don't really like it. I think that it is an incredibly good card, and if you're focusing more on Hex, maybe you're playing Weather Vanes as well, I think it's incredible. But it's just not what I'm trying to do with the deck. Defensive cards are good against aggro decks, what can I say? I think I had like 1 set too many because what ended up happening a lot is if I tried having a pivot turn, if I drew a hand with too many red defensive cards, I then gave up all the tempo I just took. Like, okay, no blocks, red Ice Vein you, trigger all my stuff, make you pay or discard, Arsenal Pass, they pass back. Well, Well, now I have 2 defense reactions, and all they did was pass back. Pass. Like, it would throw the tempo that I just worked really hard to get. One of Nourishing, it was good. It was great when you were trying to go for your kill turns because it gave you an extra blue a lot of the times. Or just gave you an extra card to block with if you played it early on, so you could keep that like magical 3-card hand. Sideboard package for Dromai. I just kind of threw this in. I didn't really have enough time to think too hard about my side deck for the event. I made this the night before. I never played against Dromai, so I can't really say if it was good. I think, though, after thinking about the deck a bit more and like the car ride back and forth, I would just make these all poppers. I think that I can shoot the Ashwings, and even if I can't, I don't know if I care about them because they're so heavy red. I'm not sure if I care about them having all the AB. And on top of that, the way I'm playing the deck, I don't care about how much AB my opponent has anyways, because when I'm going for the kill, I'm just stripping their hand anyways. So I think I care far more about the big dragons, and then that also is another sideboard card for Prism if it's a popper, because I think I'm far more afraid of aggro Prism without me playing poppers than I am Aura Prism, because I think out tempo Aura Prism. It's a little too slow, I think. But I haven't really played that matchup enough to really have a good opinion on that. I haven't really put too much thought into that yet, so grain of salt that. Just floater sideboard slots, essentially. Then we have Unmovable. These were for Guardian and decks like that. They were good. I did play against a couple decks like that, and they were good. I needed to not lose, and these helped me not lose. And then these swapped between the 2 tournaments, between Scour and Epot. I never actually played the Epot in the first tournament. I never played a deck that I wanted it against, so I can't say how good that was, but that would have been for something like Guardian, where I'm trying to do more of a setup style just in case they decide to not play the game. I did play against a Prism, and the Scour was good, and I did see that there was a Viscerai in the room, and that's another matchup that I would want it for. So it was good for me, but it's a situational sideboard card that can swap for something else. And then my last card was Channel the Bleak Expanse. I never got a chance to use this card. I just didn't face anything that I really wanted it against, or when I did not draw it. The awkward thing with it is that it's really good when it's good, but you don't know when it's going to be good, because you have to arsenal it and hope that they play a hand into it, like they play a 3 of a kind or something, and you catch it. So I'm on the fence about this card. I'm debating on cutting it because I think I have like one too many sets of blue ice cards in the deck, and I would rather just trim the fat a little bit and just have like a core of like I want these cards versus aggro decks, and not have like a couple cards that swap around for different aggro decks. I gotta think about that some more, though. But overall, the deck performed pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. It does need more work, though. This was like a kind of a thrown-together list last minute, because I just wanted to not play Prism the night before. I definitely want some more cards that do arcane damage. I think I want some more zero-cost fuse cards so I can keep a small hand and trigger my chills. I think I might want to cut a set of defense reactions. I want more poppers. I think I want to cut this. This is going to be situational based on the room, so this is going to swap around. Maybe this becomes maybe this becomes Epot. But other than that, I like the deck. I'm pretty happy with it. I liked the play style. It felt like I didn't care what my opponent was doing. I was able to execute my strategy pretty well. I didn't care if they had AB. I didn't care if they chose to not play the game. I didn't care if they chose to race me. I had a plan into everything playstyle-wise for my opponent. So, and importantly for me, it was a fun deck to play. I just really enjoy decks that play like this, so I had a good time with it. Yeah, give it a swing. If you guys play the deck and have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, because this is something that I'm kind of working on as a pet project right now. And yeah, that's it. If you liked the video, please give me a subscribe. I would really appreciate that, trying to grow the channel. And if there's anything that you guys are wanting to see from me, please let me know, and I will make an attempt to make that. And that's it. Thanks for watching.